Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti, 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. May all be happy. May all be free from diseases. May all see only goodness everywhere. May no one suffer. May there be peace, peace and abiding peace everywhere by God's grace. Good morning, friends. I have decided to give my talk this morning on the subject of meditation. This word meditation is now quite well known in the West, such as in the United States, but it was totally unknown to the world until 1893. It is that year when Swami Vivekananda came to attend the Parliament of Religions held in Chicago, and during that talk he spoke a little bit about meditation also. Several talks he had to give. He was hired by a lecture bureau, so he had to go to many cities and he used to give talks. And he talked about meditation also. The word meditation, before Swami Vivekananda was coming to this West, was considered as some kind of silent prayer. That is meditation. But meditation is not prayer, it is something different. So I thought I would give a talk on this subject. We had a very respected Swami named Swami Bodhatmanandaji. He was the principal of the training center for novitiate monks in our headquarters in India. And when I was a novitiate monk, I studied under him for 2 years, Swami Bodhatmanandaji, otherwise known as Bhava Maharaj. He told us that before he was made principal of the training center for novitiate monks of our order, he had to take charge of one small center in Calcutta, and then during that period, he had to give talks on various spiritual subjects. Then he said that when he was giving talks on the Upanishads form the very basis of Hinduism, these scriptures. Then people would come and fall asleep. Mostly elderly people would come, and there was a fan on, and India is a warm country, and they would, while listening to the talks, they would fall asleep. It reminds me of a joke. That is, the joke is about an elderly grandmother. She was in her 70s. She was a regular church goer, and one day she brought her young grandson with her, a very little grandson. Then the minister started giving his sermon. During that sermon, that elderly grandmother fell asleep. And the minister was used to seeing people falling asleep during his sermons, during the talks that he would give. But this time it was a little different because that elderly lady started snoring. That disturbed the minister. And he stopped giving his sermon and said to that young boy, "Wake up your grandma." Then the boy said, "You put her to sleep, you wake her up." So some sermons have that ability to put people to sleep. I don't know about today's talk, whether you will be falling asleep or not. Nevertheless, I have to give the talk. So I was talking about meditation. Meditation, that word was first made popular by Swami Vivekananda. He was the Swami who founded the monastic order to which I belong. And so he talked about meditation. And the Sanskrit word for meditation is dhyanam. Dhyanam. How old is this practice of meditation or dhyanam? Well, in Hinduism there is Rigveda Samhita, a scripture. It is several thousand years old. And in the Rigveda also, this meditation was mentioned. But the word that was used was dvaya. And Vedic language is a little different from the Sanskrit language that we know today. So there was a great commentator, his name Sayana. He was known as Sayana Acharya. He wrote a commentary on the Vedas also. So he said dhaya actually meant by meditation or by dhyanam, because the word dhya also means dhyanam. So dhaya means by meditation. And he also has said that the verbal root is bhoi, dhoi, which means thinking. Dhoi chintayam, that means thinking. That's what Sayana says. Like the Rigveda Samhita, there are some Upanishads also, which are authentic scriptures of Hinduism. And say this, in those scriptures also, the word dhyanam has been used, such as in the Katha Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, then Dhyana Bindu Upanishad, Dakshinamurti Upanishad, etc. So that word dhyanam has been. So it is a very ancient word, actually. And how to meditate, about that, some instruction we find in the Katha Upanishad. It goes like this: Paranchikhani vetrinat sayambhu tasmat parang pashyati nantaratman kasyid dhiraha pratyagatamanam akshat abritta chakshur amritattam icchan. That is there. It means, alas, the Lord, that means God, has created us in such a way that we see only things which are outside. But some people among us who are very of calm temperament, they want to know that indwelling divine self, and that's why they shut their eyes and look within. That's what Kathopanishad says. So we have to shut our eyes, not see anything outside, and try to see within. And this shutting of the eyes is called in meditation pratyahara. Meditation has 4 steps. First is pratyahara, that means withdrawing the mind from objects on which the mind is scattered. And then, after withdrawing the mind, fix the mind on your object of meditation. That is called dharana. And when dharana matures, it is called dhyanam. And when dhyana matures, then it is called samadhi. So after withdrawing the mind from external objects on which the mind is scattered and holding it for 12 seconds, that is called dharana. And concentration on the object of meditation for 12 times 12 seconds, that is 144 seconds, that is called dhyanam. And then when that meditation lasts for 12 times of what is called meditation, that means 12 times 144 seconds, which is 28 minutes and 48 seconds, less than half an hour, then that is called samadhi. That concentration of mind gives a person God experience. It is very interesting. In the scriptures there is a saying, pratyaya ekotanata dhyanam. What is meditation? That means meditation means making the thought one-pointed thought. In science, there is an expression called laser beam. That means the light that we see, that is composed of photons, but they are all scattered. If those photons are made to travel in a straight line, then that becomes a laser beam. And this laser beam, if focused from Earth at the moon, then the laser beam will reach the moon. That's what we studied when we studied physics. Because there is concentrated, in a concentrated way, the photons, they're all in a straight line. They go and they reach the boundary of this world. This world has a boundary of time, space and causation. And beyond this world there is divinity, indivisible divinity. It's called Sat Chit Anandam. Sat means existence, Chit means consciousness, and bliss or peace, called Anandam. And that unless we cross the barrier of time, space and causation, we cannot arrive at that divinity, which is Sat Chit Anandam. It is also called Brahman, Nirguna Brahman. So there is a wall there between Nirguna Brahman and us. Unless our minds can penetrate through that wall, the minds cannot know Nirguna Brahman. So how can that be done? The mind has to be made concentrated, just like a laser beam. Then it will reach that wall, which is the boundary of the world of time, space and causation, and somehow make a hole there and have a glimpse of what is beyond. That is samadhi. See, it is as simple as that. So if a person learns how to concentrate his or her mind for less than half an hour, 28 minutes and 48 seconds, then that person will have experience of divinity. That concentrated mind will enable that person to have that experience. And so this meditation consists of 4 steps. First is withdrawal, which is pratyahara in Sanskrit. Then dharana, that means fixing the mind on the object of meditation. Then dhyanam, concentration on the object of meditation for 12 times, as 12 times the dharana. And then 12 times of dhyanam will be samadhi. So what is the gain in knowing Brahman? So for that we have to go to some divine incarnations. It is they who will teach us what is the truth, divine truth. So Sri Ramakrishna is a divine incarnation, and a person came to him and said, "Sir, what is the goal of our life?" Then Sri Ramakrishna said to him, "The goal of human life is to experience divinity, experience God." "How can it be done?" that person asked. And Sri Ramakrishna replied, "By chanting the holy name of God and having the company of those who are holy." That is, those who are doing that. Holy company means following the advice of divine incarnations. There is a statement which I have often quoted here. Uttisthata, jagrata, prajya varan nibodhata. That is there in our scriptures. That means, wake up. You are all somnambulists. You are thinking that you are awake, but you are not. You are sleeping. And in your sleep you have been doing things. So, jagrata. Then finding, when you wake up and find those superior ones, Varan means superior ones, and from them you become enlightened, get to know who you are and how to regain your divine nature. And this Varan means the superior ones are the divine incarnations. That's why I quoted Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna, Krishna, Sri Chaitanya, Jesus Christ, Buddha, Rama and Krishna and all in the past, they are considered divine incarnations. Divinity in human form. Divinity is there in all of us. Sarvam Khalidam Brahma. Divinity is everywhere. That is the statement which says. But not equally present everywhere, but not equally manifested everywhere. That's why in a divine incarnation, divinity is fully manifested. And in other people, a little bit. And in non-living objects, no manifestation. In a plant also, practically no manifestation. Or lower animals, very little manifestation of divinity. So, it is the divine incarnations who are like, as I say, trillion-watt light bulbs. And we are maybe 5-watt light bulbs or 10-watt light bulbs, or some maybe 1,000-watt light bulbs. And one who is 1,000-watt light bulbs, and light is divinity, that is being manifested by that person. That person is considered saintly. But a divine incarnation is a multi-trillion-watt light bulb. So everything is known to them. So here in Seattle, I was brought by Swami Vividishananda. He was in charge of this center, Vedanta Center. And there was a neighbor who was a devotee of the center. One day she came, she was an elderly lady, and said to Swami Vividishananda, Swami, last night I meditated throughout the entire night. That's what she thought. Has she been able to meditate for only less than half an hour, then she would have experience of divinity. That didn't happen to her. She imagined that she had meditated. That means she tried to meditate. That is the understanding. And while meditating, some conditions come to the meditator. The first condition is laya, a kind of sleep it may come. A person who is trying to meditate, he may suddenly fall asleep. And that sleep is very sound sleep, laya. And then while trying to meditate, the mind becomes disturbed. It tries to go here and there. That is called vikshepa. And the third obstacle which comes while meditating is called koshaya. There is a great distaste is felt by the meditator to meditate for some reason. And then fourth is rasaswada. Through meditations, some spiritual experience has been gained, and the meditator doesn't want to go further ahead. Gets stuck there. That is called rasaswada. We had a Swami once in France many years ago, and then one day one of the members of the Vedanta Center where that Swami was came and said, Swami, I had samadhi. Then the Swami talked to that person and could understand that what experience that person had was laya. There is the sleep, which is considered an obstacle to meditation. But that person thought that that was samadhi. And when the Swami explained that to that person left and never came back. Most probably that person went to some other teacher. Jesus said, this is another divine incarnation, he said, beware of false prophets. Beware of false prophets. If there is a genuine prophet, then there will be at least 10,000 false prophets in the world. That's how it is. And it is also mentioned in our scriptures that to learn to meditate, you need a teacher. How to find that teacher? That is a good question. There are so many fake ones all around. One young man once came to our headquarters and stayed there as a guest, and I was at that time at the headquarters. I was also a young monk. That young man was wearing ochre robe, so he was a monk. He was a sannyasi. I talked to him because he was almost of my age at that time. Then he said that he had come there because he had heard of Vishnu Charan Ghosh, who lived in Calcutta, and he was a teacher of yogasanas, yoga postures. Then I asked him why do you want to learn the yogasanas? He said because he wanted to go to America and teach yogasanas there. There is a good market there for that. He told me. But how will you go to America? You need dollars. He said, I have many disciples. He lived in a village and he had made many disciples. He was one of those false prophets. And then they will give me money and I will put that money I'll deposit that money in a company which has its branch in America. And then when I go to America, that branch will give me some money. That's how I will manage. He knew all those things. It reminds me of a story. There was a person named John, and unfortunately, and he was married, but his married life was not happy marriage life. He often had quarrel with his wife and all. So one day, while he was driving, he saw a sign, and on that sign it was written, "Meditation solves all problems." And there was a picture of a bearded person, and it was written, this yogi is from the Himalayas. He will teach you, and all your problems will be solved. And he got interested because his married life was unhappy, so he thought maybe this yogi would be able to help him. And he went there. He had to pay a large sum of money, and then he was taught how to sit down and meditate. With his backbone erect, he had to sit down. At that time he must not talk, and all these things he was taught. So he came home and he started doing that. His wife saw him doing that kind of meditation and said, I asked you to take out the garbage this morning, but you didn't do that. And like that she started complaining about things which she had asked him to do, but he had not done. Then she said, I'm fed up with you. I'm going back to my parents. And then she was saying she left the house, and this John could hear the car being started and then she was gone. Then John said, "Oh, meditation really works." So it is not that kind of meditation we are going to discuss this morning. Yes. At every step we need the guidance of a teacher also. A real teacher, not a fake one. And the first step of meditation is withdrawing the mind from where it is scattered. And then second step is to focus it on the object of meditation, which is called dharana. So the Mahabharata is considered one of the two big epics written in India. This is quite an ancient thing, epic. In the Mahabharata, so many things have been mentioned. And it is said that what you don't see in the Mahabharata, that is nowhere in the world. Everything has been included in the Mahabharata. So there is a story in the Mahabharata about 5 princes. They are called Pandavas. They are the descendants of Pandu, that's why Pandava. 5 princes, and their teacher of how to use arms, etc. is called named Drona. So Drona was supposed to teach these 5 princes the art of warfare, the art of fighting, etc. And so Drona gave them some teachings. Then one day he wanted to test them. Then he took those 5 princes. Their names were Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula and Sahadeva. Then the teacher Drona had put a wooden bird on the high branch of a tree. And he said, "Make your bow and arrow ready and shoot at the eye of that wooden bird." And so the students, they are prepared to do that. Then, but Drona wanted to test them. So Yudhishthira was there. He asked Yudhishthira, "Do you see that bird?" And Yudhishthira said, "Yes, I see the bird, I see the tree, I see you, and I see my brothers under the tree." Then Drona said, "No, you don't have to try." Then he asked Bhima. Bhima also gave a similar reply. Then he asked Nakula and Sahadeva. They also gave similar replies. They were seeing so many things, and the bird also. Then Drona asked Arjuna, and Arjuna focused his attention on the bird. And Drona asked, "What do you see?" Then he said, "I see only the eye of the wooden bird and nothing else." Then Drona said, "Then release your arrow." And the arrow went and hit the eye of the wooden arrow. This is dharana. He would do his mind and focus that on that bird. I've heard that in the baseball game, which is very popular in America, there are some players who can see, who have dharana. And when a ball has been thrown by the by player of the opposite party, and he is supposed to hit that ball, then his mind is concentrated on that ball. His concentration is so great that that ball, which is of the size of a tennis ball, appears to become bigger like that of like a soccer ball, and then he has no difficulty in hitting that ball. That's what I read many years ago when I was a young man. So this is dharana actually. And so when the concentration lasts for a little more, as I said, when the mind is withdrawn and focused on the object of concentration for 12 seconds, that is called dharana. And when the mind is concentrated on that object for 2 minutes and 24 seconds, then that is called dhyanam. And 12 times that is samadhi, then a person will have God experience in less than half an hour. So it is quite easy. You need only half an hour. But first you have to learn to concentrate your mind. And there are many obstacles to meditation, to the practice of meditation. Maybe I will talk about those things in one of my future talks. So, meditation is a large subject. But it is a method by which we can have God experience. And there are some sentences, not 5, there are some sentences in Hinduism. Those are called great sentences, Mahavakyas. And first is Aham Brahmasmi, I am divinity. Tattamasi, you are divinity. I am Atma Brahma. What I consider my soul, that is divinity. And then Prajnanam Brahma, the supreme knowledge is divinity. These are called Mahavakyas, great sentences. If these sentences are saved and the rest of the scriptures of Hinduism get lost, still Hinduism has been saved. But if these sentences are lost and the rest of the scriptures is retained, then you can say that there is no real Hinduism there. Sarvam Khalidam Brahma, everything is divinity. That is the teaching. And a person who meditates and learns to meditate properly, he will experience all these things and know all these things to be true.